Good morning, coffee moaners. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Friday the 9th. Friday the 9th of January. Bloody hell. Donald Trump's got a lot done, hasn't he? America's responsible for a hell of a lot. I mean, the saying that when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. Boy, oh boy. It feels that way, doesn't it? How is everyone? Another morning, another dollar, or perhaps not another dollar. If you're being pursued by an ICE agent, you might not have any more dollars. It's weird that the whole drama, the sort of psychodrama, and watching the aftermath and how it's playing out in America on the news channels, social media, press briefings, it's just staggeringly unbelievable. I mean, is anyone else in a sort of slightly pinch me mode? I can't work out. I mean, there were so many moments during the last 2 years of the Gaza genocide where one would just pinch oneself in disbelief at the extent to which they would, you know, Israel and the world would sort of deny the very truth of what we were seeing, or deny an ability to see the truth of what we were seeing. I mean, it's beginning to feel, I reposted, I'm going to play it here, a post by, again, Alana Hadid. She's always so calm about these things. I don't know how. You know, I can't help but feel that more and more, you know, what the Americans have allowed and sanctioned to happen for the Palestinians has all been potentially a dress rehearsal to see how it can run out and play out here. We have an enormous number of clips to show you. I've got an enormous number of clips of ranging from protesters in Minnesota preventing ICE agents from sleeping, to JD Vance losing his shit, to cosplaying sociopath, pet killing Kristi Noem, giving it more wide-eyed, wild-eyed denial. We've got all sorts of, we've got the mayor of Minnesota defending his expletive-laden pushback. We've got Trump inferring and indicating that he could well be hitting Mexico. Again, all of this on the topic of narco-terrorists. This is the new phrase, isn't it? This is the new term that gives legitimacy to regime change, to invasion, to breaching and ignoring international law, whatever that means. I mean, I think we're past that now. Are we? Are we past that? Are we now not in a period of time where we have to stop asking for something that's never going to be given to us, i.e. observe international law? I mean, we've learned the hard way, haven't we? 2 years. We're going to start pushing towards 2.5 years of the Gaza genocide. And I don't hear anything moving along with the International Criminal Court. Plus, Israel isn't a signatory and America isn't a signatory. I mean, once you haven't got signatories, the whole fucking thing is fucking defunct. An assembly of psychopaths, says Matty Parker. Reese Roberts. And the seriousness of this is that Rennie, the victim in the shooting in Minnesota, is in many words was the perfect victim. And in that outside of outrage, it is still being suppressed. So just imagine how much more margins injustice will be. I guess what you're saying there, Reese, is that given that she was a white woman, I mean, I'm amazed they haven't made more of the fact. Am I right in thinking, I think she's gay, isn't she? She had her lesbian partner was on the scene. Some are suggesting she might have been in the car with her. I'm amazed they haven't doubled down on that and sought to somehow conflate her lesbianism with the trans issue, with the left-wing issue. I mean, but if we're in any doubt that, and I'm going to be really clear here, not that the American government, nor, unfortunate name, Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent responsible for shooting Rennie Good, I'm not suggesting for a minute it was planned. It couldn't have been, you know, not it was so sort of, there were so many elements to it that are authentically accidental and just badly judged by him. Whilst the specifics of the event weren't planned, I would argue the hope that something like this would happen has long been planned for and long been hoped for. And in fact, I've got a brief quote from the Palestinian activist Greg Stoker. You may remember him from the Samud flotilla. he talks to that. He talks about the idea that actually he's quite shocked and surprised that it's taken so long for the first person to be killed by ICE agents. Isn't that annoying? I forever and a day send all these clips to my computer, and then I always forget the one that I need at the very point. I just want to pull up the front page. I put it, oh, that's because I used it as a story. This is the front page of the New York Post. If you're in any shadow of a doubt as to whether, you know, this conflict is going to be used by the Trump regime, that's what I call it now. It's not the Trump government. It's not the Trump administration. It's the Trump regime. If you can call it the Maduro regime, it's the Trump regime. Here we go. Front page of the New York Post. Warrior of the left. Mom killed in Minnesota was part of ICE Watch activists trained to resist immigration officers. Now, here's the thing, guys. I mean, even under the few posts that I've put on Instagram, there's an enormous number of people. I mean, enormous number of people. You've got to, and one has to understand this and get to grips with this. There's an enormous number of people who feel, and this is the danger, that because she, you know, we don't know, you know, if she was part of something called ICE Watch, if she was a repeat protester, that is your constitutional right as an American to protest, theoretically. Theoretically, it's your constitutional right here to protest, as long as you protest about the things that they want you to protest about. I mean, we have to accept when a government allows you to do anything, they allow you to do it if in essence they know it doesn't do anything. So for example, if voting in an election really changed anything, really, they wouldn't let us do it, guys. Not in any democracy. They wouldn't really let us do it because they need the system and they need the ship to stay steady enough for enough vested interests. So when they say you can protest, what we're encountering in the UK with the whole kind of pushback against the Palestinian protesters, you know, activists fighting for, you know, humanity, not against anyone, not you know, humanity and equality and fairness. What you find is that when you protest about something that might be efficient or effective, they disallow it or they deem you a terrorist, which sounds remarkably like what they're trying to tell us Iran is like at the moment. It's weird, isn't it? Iran is clamping down on protests. Now, listen, without going off on a complete sidebar, the Iranian situation is this. Of course, there are people resisting the regime. Of course, the regime is unpalatable. And of course, we now have leaders of the world, Netanyahu and Trump, who say that if you don't like the leader of a certain country, you're totally in your rights to just go in and take them out. Well, none of us like Netanyahu. So let's all go in and take out the prime minister of Israel. Why is no one getting on board with that? He's a wanted war criminal. He's an actually wanted war criminal. There are arrest warrants out there. So if protesting really worked, they wouldn't really let you do it. And what we're discovering in the so-called democracy of America, the Republic of America, the great old free, the land of America, and here is, you can protest as long as it's not about things that we don't want you to protest about. Do you remember, what was it Shabana Mahmood said? She said, you've got freedom, but don't use that freedom all the time. What? That's the very fucking concept of freedom, you moron. Happy birthday, Natalie. Isn't it? I mean, you can't say you're free to protest, but only now and then. What? I mean, it's so spectacular. I mean, I've said this often about the whole kind of situation in Israel, the situation in America. There are two things colliding. It's like nuclear fission, nuclear fusion. You've got total crass, idiotic, bubba stupidity on the left, and you've got real Machiavellian, sinister, conniving, clever sophistication on the right. They come together and create a mushroom cloud of barbarism. So the New York Post saying this, mom killed in Minnesota was part. So let's unpack this. And we know the New York Post is a rag of right-wing Trump-supporting lying. So Warrior immediately screams out to the country, fight. We need to fight this warrior. She's a warrior. Hang on, you know, the family are coming to terms with the fact that they've lost a daughter, a child has lost a mother, a wife has lost a partner. But no, the New York Post, warrior. Let's not forget, this is a woman who was enacting a three-point turn, right? Let's just get a grip here. She was enacting a three-point turn, asked to do a three-point turn, waved some ICE vehicles ahead of her to do the three-point turn. Some moron of an ICE officer comes round the front of the car, wasn't in the way, but steps too close to the wing of the car while she's turning, and then she gets shot in the head. So warrior of the left. Well, she's a warrior of the left. That means everyone on the left is a warrior, and we need to fight them, because when you use the word warrior with morons, they go, fight, warrior, fight, swords, all that kind of stuff. Okay, this is how it operates. Mom killed in Minnesota was part of Ice Watch. Okay, if there's something called Ice Watch, again, that's part of, theoretically, the ability to protest, to be informed. And if I get another comment under any one of my Instagram reels saying, oh, it's inhumane of you to suggest that it's okay to, no one's saying it's okay to run over a federal agent. No one has said that. But when this group of federal agents behave like marauding yobs, under the kind of auspices of saying they have to hide themselves because they don't want to be doxxed or be identified, well, maybe you're only being identified because you're doing something that is deeply, deeply egregious, immoral, and unfettered. So no one is suggesting that you should kill a federal agent or run over a federal agent, but that's not what happened here. Federal agents are the ones with the guns and ones with the know-how, and theoretically are the ones with the training by the IDF, which is probably why they have no comprehension of how to halt something, stop something, prevent something without shooting. Because let's face it, what do the IDF do? They aim at people all the time. Mum killed in Minnesota, part of Ice Watch. Activists trained to resist immigration officer. So when you put the word warrior and you put the word activist and then you put the word trained, suddenly we're getting very close to what they want you to believe is Antifa and all that kind of stuff. It's just manufactured fucking madness. Anyway, I mean, that is the front page of the New York Post. As a family is mourning the loss of a loved one, she has been characterized by the American Trump regime as a warrior of the left. Reporting is just despicable. Thank you, ISIS I8542. This fucking bollocks. If someone comes on, got to protect the, well, I wouldn't say it like that. Okay, you got to protect the federal agents. What are you saying? What are you saying? Thank you very much, Stephen. Oh, Steve Masters. Thank you so much, matey. What are you saying? That they are, okay, they're federal agents in name. I mean, Donald Trump is a president in name, but he's also a felon. Just because they've got fucking uniforms on, I'm getting sick to death of this. No disrespect, Steve Masters. You used to wear a uniform. Probably still do, don't you? Bless you. I worked with Steve years ago. Prescription of Palestine action is the continuing erosion, says Steve, of our civil liberties that has been happening for several decades. And I'm looking forward to, we're going to bring Steve onto the channel at some point, matey. And we're going to talk about your experience. We're going to talk about the way in which this country has prevented any form of protest. It doesn't matter, and it's classic British kind of way of doing it, isn't it? As well, it's a classic British way of doing it. We do it with a sort of cup of tea and a plate of biscuits and the word prescription. Let's prescribe it as a terrorist organization by the letter of the law. Oh. In America, they shoot you. I mean, we can be grateful for small mercies. So I'm just going to show you the headlines. We've got a whole heap. Lovely to hear you. Thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate it. We've got a whole heap of clips to get through. I've got to be done by the latest, really 11 o'clock. So here are the headlines overnight. 2 people shot by US federal agents in Portland. Wow. Okay. So no sooner has it happened in one place, it's happened in another. The mayor urges ICE to pause operations as representative says victims are alive, but the extent of their injuries is unknown. And someone did say here that someone also, they think they died on the 31st of December at the hands of ICE. FBI, this is a chilling little sort of gyration and sort of, you know, oh God, this headline. Oh, for those listening, let me read it quickly. FBI takes over the case of ICE agent killing US woman and cuts Minnesota's access to evidence. This musical chimp, Zach Polanski, absolutely. This detail is the most chilling evolution in this story. So what's happening here is the FBI, if they swoop in, which they, to be brutally honest, they do. If a federal agent is involved in a homicide, federal agents do generally move in. But if it's kind of involved a Minnesotan kind of, you know, citizen, as it has, you would also engage with the local police forces and the local kind of investigative kind of teams. But the FBI is swooping in here to kind of clear up the scene, just like, I've used the analogy before, the Monsters, Inc. SWAT squads. Do you remember when the monster would come back from the world of the child's bedroom? And if there was a sock or something attached to the monster, the SWAT squad would come in because that side wasn't allowed to come into this side. Well, that's what the FBI are like. Does anyone, another analogy would be, do you remember the beginning of E.T.? When the men in the hazmat suits all kind of descend on the suburban house, very powerful scene. And the authorities go into lockdown because there's an alien. Blah, blah, blah. It's like that. So the FBI come in, they can control the scene. We've got Kash Patel, the wide-eyed, he looks like he's hallucinating. He looks like a man so out of his depth, he's looking up a 5,000-yard well hole. They're going in there and they're going to manage the crime scene. This is, if you saw this in a film and it was a plot line and it was a character arc, you'd be like, no, no one can get on board with that. That's ridiculous. So that's a big headline today. FBI going in to manage the crime scene, just like they did with Charlie Kirk. Isn't it weird? I said it yesterday. No white line around the body, no cordoning off, no forensics. She was carried off, to quote an eyewitness, like a sack of potatoes. Where's the kind of hallowed, you know, unbelievable. J.D. Vance, we're going to see some of him in a minute. The eyelinered one. J.D. Vance snarls and swipes in defense of ICE agent. Was the boss impressed? This is a piece in The Guardian asking the question, is J.D. Vance flexing his muscles? Is he getting a little bit sinewy and a little bit more combative so that he can keep Donald Trump on side? Because Donald Trump's pumped up. I mean, I know some people are saying that they think, well, actually, what date is it today? If The Simpsons is right, Trump could be dead tomorrow. I mean, you know how The Simpsons has almost become Nostradamus, hasn't it? Some are saying that they think that Donald Trump is terminal and that this sort of race to the bottom, if you like, is him kind of annoyed that he's not going to live forever. So he wants to make a stand. I must admit, that is always something, I don't know about anyone else, just going off on a sidebar. That is always something I think about with dictators. Is it you? You sort of, you know, when I look at Putin, who, with all due respect, has become an infinitely more preferable partner for a game of darts for me than Trump, if I'm honest. I'd rather play darts with Putin now. But when I look at Putin, I think, yeah, presumably you're thinking about your own mortality. You don't want all this. You don't want all of this stuff to happen when you're dead, because when you're dead, you're dead. So presumably, you know, when you're a marauding despot dictator like Trump and Putin and Kim Jong-un and who else? Xi, you know, again, the reason I kind of hesitate around this is we have all been sold so much propaganda about every other country in the world. And that's why we're fascinated to talk to you, Steve Masters, as well. Steve is a veteran. He was with the RAF. We did a documentary, in fact, together going across America, following the RAF cycling team. It'll be a fascinating chat. And I was talking to Nadia about you, Steve, and she's really looking forward to it. Yeah, you know, I sometimes think, well, these guys, these psychopathic, egocentric, narcissistic toolboxes, they must want this to happen within their life, because there's no glory. Thank you, the Country Pumpkin. There's no glory, is there, in it happening as you go? Farage wants the same here. Yeah, and it's amazing, isn't it, when you think that Nigel Farage survived a plane crash? Wow, it's all about legacy. It's all about immortality, says Matt E. Parker. So, yeah, is this J.D. Vance trying to ingratiate his boss? Bush, you know, could this guy be the new president of the United States? I don't, you know what? I can't see any of these Muppets actually winning in a fair election anymore. Things have got so bad with their popularity. They can only carry on now with the iron fist of dictatorship. I mean, if you were doubtful that Trump was going to completely disrupt the democratic process, always say that in America, in inverted commas, for those of you listening, don't doubt it now, because there's no way he's going to be able to clamber his fucking popularity in the polls. I mean, look at the protests. You're going to see them in a minute. I'm just showing you the headlines. As I say, 2 shot by federal agents in Portland after the Minneapolis shooting. Okay, so I'm going to show you some more clips. I've got an awful lot of clips to move through, and each one of them is can be characterized as being in the aftermath of Minnesota. The question I've asked at the top here is civil war in the US incoming. Any Americans in the room? Share with us your thoughts. I do worry that the rhetoric and the upset and the distress, I do feel that huge swathes of America are being pushed closer and closer to an intolerance of what's being done to them by ICE agents, by the government, by the system, by the cost of living. That resistance, isn't it funny how all countries in the West, in so-called democracies, only describe resistance as terrorism, whether it be domestic terrorism, narco-terrorism, Palestinian terrorism. You know, isn't it weird that, and isn't it weird how many of us, people, civilians, populations in the West just go, yeah, it's a designated terrorist organization. Do you know that? Yeah, Hamas, it's a designated terrorist organization. I didn't know. Well, I do know that, actually, because apparently the majority of countries in the world don't recognize it as a designated terrorist organization. It's only us and a couple of others, actually. It is. The vast majority of countries in the world don't recognize Hamas as a terrorist organization. So imagine being an American now, being told that in your desire to fight for your neighborhood, for your work colleagues, for your families, you're a domestic terrorist. Surely that word stops being effective, doesn't it, after a while? Anyway, here we go. We've got some footage here of, what have we got here? ICE agents going into a school, also in Minneapolis. Attacking teenagers. Going into schools. Wow. Bless her, Nadia's frustrated. Like, I mean, understandably, she can't talk about this stuff on Loose Women. I mean, no one watching Loose would be vaguely interested in ICE. But we've been talking about it on the channel for a while, and it's been a pulse, I hope you realize. Looks just like the West Bank Rebs, absolutely, 832, Rebs 832. Yeah, I mean, you know, what we're seeing is what we've seen by terrorist settlers, though no one in the West calls settlers in the West Bank in Palestine terrorists. Have you noticed that? They terrorize Palestinians, but they're not terrorists. I mean, they look terrifying as well when when you see them running around in a rabid fashion, you know, poisoning wells and killing goats and sheep and chasing mothers and fathers out of their ancient homes and burning olive trees. If you had to look up the word terrorize in the dictionary, it'd say see settlers in the West Bank. But no one in the world says, oh, they're terrorists. No, they're just settlers. And settlers sounds so sort of benign, doesn't it? But it's violent, it's aggressive, it's imperialist, it's colonialist, it's fascist. But they're going into schools. I saw another clip, I haven't got it, but I saw another clip where they were using all sorts of kind of chemical bombs, you know, kind of agents, you know, smoke bombs and stuff like that to kind of get students, kids. You send your kid to college, they go to college and they're attacked by ICE agents. Well, it's an embarrassment of riches. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen to the eyelinered dumpster that is JD Vance.
Aliens out without any of the really big marquee things that we've been working on. That was just simple willpower and the President of the United States coming in and saying this is done. I think we're going to see those deportation numbers ramp up as we get more and more people online working for ICE, going door to door and making sure that if you're an illegal alien, you've got to get out of this country. And if you want to come back, apply through the proper channel.
Wow, they're going to go door to door. Oh my God, this is becoming even more and more like Nazi Germany, the streets of Poland. The streets of Amsterdam, in our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. First they came for this lot, first they came for that lot, then they went for that lot, then they come for you. Wow, they're going to go door to door, guys. Yeah, just imagine that. The promise from JD Vance that ICE are going to go door to door. So even if you feel, perhaps, perchance, maybe, as someone of any ethnicity, ethnic origin, second generation, third, first, whatever, if you even had a vague moment of comfort in shutting your front door, they're going to remove that. They're going to remove that because they're going to come knocking on your doors. And Farage wants that here. We now need to stop pussyfooting around what Farage is. He's not your avuncular, uncle-like chap who likes a pint and a cigar, chin-chin, chitty-chatty-chat-chatty, with Richard Tice, his co-leader, sat in a pub in the Cotswolds, pretending they're one of the people. No, they want this. Boy, if they could have this with masks and guns and all the rest of it, it would happen. They already are, says Persephone personified. They're already going door to door. Well, there's JD Vance promising that we're going to get more of the same. More of the same. Okay, let's go. What's this? What's this clip here?
Investigations agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this?
So this is a back reference to the fact that the FBI have gone into Minnesota and taken control of the investigation. She's asking JD Vance, what's the concept behind that? What is the idea behind that? Why are the FBI going in and disallowing local investigators to be part of this investigation?
And evidence to work on this investigation.
First of all, the precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge. So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on is the real issue that they're encouraging people.
Wow. There you go. It's us and you. We, the regime, are the arbiters of truth if one of our lot kills one of your lot. Do you get what I mean? The Civil War kind of feeling of us versus you. And the really important thing to understand is when Tim Walz the other day said we want to issue the Minnesota National Guard to kind of look after things in Minnesota. The reason that's significant is the Minnesota National Guard consists of Minnesotans. And so they know the community, they're of the community, they have a vested interest in the safety and the kind of prolongation of the community. You get people coming in from the outside. What we have to remember is these ICE agents, and it's becoming the biggest federal organization and I think the highest budget in the federal kind of system in America. There's this idea that these are federal agents and that actually relative to the population of America, the federal agents aren't many. Let me promise you and let me explain to you what the ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement Team's federal agents are in reality. This is the way in which this regime, this Trump regime, think of the film Civil War, this is their militia. America's whole history and its whole history of gun ownership is a hangover from Civil War times, from the good old days, when the right to have a gun was about being able to kind of create your own militia, your own micro kind of community army, if needed, in the face of opposition or resistance or, you know, the indigenous people of America, etc. So this militia, we have to start calling out ICE for what it is. It's a militia. And it's a militia that's being legitimized and protected by the federal system. And the fact that the Democrats haven't been more outspoken other than when someone gets shot is an absolute travesty. I mean, it's like Nadia said last night. She said, where are, I said, well, everyone's coming out of the woodwork. Everyone is expressing their fury. And yet they're expressing their fury and they've got nothing they can do until the midterms. And this is why the midterms are significant. I know Me Too, but I don't think you're in the room at the moment, but a regular contributor to the chat room here. She was saying, you know, look, you know, the midterms will happen, and I don't think the midterms will happen, guys. Personally, I don't think Trump, because if the midterms happen, there is the potential for Trump to be stymied and paused and stopped by government, and he's not. Why is he going to allow that? Captain Bingo is called. I love your name. It's called the Imperial Boomerang. What your government does to people abroad eventually comes home. That's why the Gaza is thousands of miles away. Why do you care? Is a trap. Absolutely. We've been screaming it from the rafters here. And it's not about saying, okay, look, I understand it's complicated. But if you don't take a smidgen of interest in the inherent unfairness, illegality, and breaching of human rights in a situation like Gaza, if you take zero interest in it, don't come running to anyone when it's happening on your doorstep. And rest assured it will. Because the only way out of this is and you know, I mean, if I was talking to Zach Polanski, I'd be wanting to say to him, do not campaign for, he's the leader of the Green Party in this country, the only definitive and clear kind of socialist or left-leaning progressive party available in this country now. Do not aim for coalition. You have to aim for the fucking top dollar dog. You've got to go for gold. You've got gold, whatever. You've got to go for green. You've got to go for the win. And you know, I hate to sound like some fucking sports pundit, but I think the Greens in this country, guys, you have to go for the win. Because a coalition, we've seen in the past, coalitions in this country it still just leans into and stays status quo-y and nothing fucking shifts. This is an Al Jazeera clip. Please get your news from places other than the mainstream media. No one source of news is reliable. You just can't. There's always, you know, so Middle East Eye, Al Jazeera, lots of independent media outlets, Novara Media, we go Breaking Points, the Young Turks, go to the mainstream media, go to the right-wing legacy media too. Even in the legacy media, that, you know, the Independent, the Metro, the Guardian are in no way perfect. And the language they use is still dodgy as fuck. But just go to a multiplicity of places, Double Down News, yeah, Drop Site News. You know, there's lots and lots of other places to go. Owen Jones, Individuals too. I just want to play you this clip.
Think again. I have been to Israel where ICE agents and DEA agents and other three-letter agencies train with the Israelis, and they bring those tactics back here.
So this is basically, this is the whistleblower Anthony Aguilar. He was a retired US Army officer, veteran, like you, Steve, for the RAF in the UK, basically talking into a loudspeaker to a crowd and just reminding them that ICE agents, DEA agents, various police authorities, you know, police agencies across America have been trained by the IDF, have been trained in Israel. So when you feel and see parallels in the way they treat crowds, it's because there are parallels. I just want to go to the mayor. Did anyone see the mayor of Minnesota? Did I play the clip yesterday where he said, "Get the fuck out of here"? Listen to this. This is funny.
Here in Washington, criticizing those comments, saying that you're escalating tensions with that. Can you respond to them? And what do you say to them tonight, people who criticize those comments? So
the suggestion being that him swearing inflames the political situation, whereas ICE going into communities without any recourse, any legitimacy, any warrants, masked up, unidentified, dragging people from their homes, that's not a provocation. No, the mayor of Minnesota using the F word is the provocation. That's what the news anchor there is trying to suggest.
I'm so sorry if I offended their Disney princess ears, but here's the thing. If we're talking about what's inflammatory, on the one hand, you got someone who dropped an F-bomb, and on the other hand, you got someone who killed somebody else. F-bomb, killing somebody. I think the more inflammatory action is killing somebody.
Boom. Boom, boom, shakalaka boom. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. If you want a little bit of satisfaction, this footage I'm about to show you now is, well, have a look at it and see if you can work out what's going on. I think there's a graphic on top of it. For those of you listening, we're watching footage of the exterior of a hotel. Lots of flashing blue police lights on the right. The sound of protesters banging things. This is protesters not letting ICE agents in a Minneapolis hotel get any sleep last night. And what's interesting about this, I'll kill the sound, is that those sirens that have been set off are some of the local Minneapolis police also joining in. So there are members of various police forces across America who are as intolerant and find ICE as intolerable as many citizens of America do. I'm going to play you Lanzi, Alana Hadid. That's her name on Lanzi Bear on Instagram. This is just a really calm and important message.
I just did a whole carousel post as kind of like a syllabus of different creators ostensibly saying very similar things. But I feel like I should probably say it too. No one is coming to save us. If you think that some nebulous body is going to come in and save America from America, they're not. And now maybe you understand, like now maybe you're going to get why people create resistance, why resistance groups that have been labeled terrorist groups exist in other places. Because no one came to save them, and so they had to save themselves. We are going to have to save ourselves, and we're going to have to organize to do it.
Sorry, just dealing with a message as well. It needs the Americans to save America. The police say a lot of the police don't want ICE there. It's really important to hear that, and it's really important to know that what's happening in the world in different places, and it's going to always be a lot slower in this country, here in the UK, is when the feeling is that your power of the powers of expression, protest, voting, change, when change, please do not, let's ever hear Starmer say the word change again, nor let's ever hear him say, let me just be crystal clear. Nothing about you is crystal clear other than your absolute lack of a soul or a moral compass, or any chutzpah or any fucking nous. I mean, you're just an absolute hopeless vassal of air. You know, the point being, what do you do? What do you do when the system is completely eroding your rights, your safety, your ability to live, your ability to stay happy in any way, shape or form? What do you do? What do you do? I mean, when, you know, this word resistance is become a sort of hot potato. If you say it, then you're encouraging what? Violence? No, no one should experience violence. No one should be killed. No one should die. But what do you leave a population, you leave an increasingly large number of people so disenfranchised. Do not be surprised when they resist. You fight back, says Alan Elliott. I mean, it's not spectacularly complicated. It really isn't. I mean, when someone like Tucker Carlson is saying, you know, surely the Palestinians have the right to defend themselves. Yes. But the West has done a job of convincing all of our populations, and the mainstream media do the same job of saying that any defense by a Palestinian is resistance. Any resistance is terrorism. It's insanity. It's insanity. This is a great moment. An American politician pulling down Kristi Noem.
This is the person who within minutes of the shooting, went on TV and called it domestic terrorism. What is she, hiding her face like her ICE agents now? She can't show her face either? By the way, is this what the $800 billion went to? Every day we see her after there's some new tragedy in Homeland, she's wearing a different outfit with a different hat. I mean, come on, guys, she looks ridiculous. She's not just an embarrassment to the country. She's an embarrassment to you and the president. Okay, she deserves to be removed from her job by the president, and if not impeached, not just for her complete failures in Homeland, but her destruction of FEMA. She's not even running the department. You guys know this. You guys know she's not running Homeland. Your governors and you all, when you need your FEMA money, you don't call Noam, you call Corey. You know.
I just love the fact that she is an absolute embarrassment, that woman. You're going to see from her in a minute. Here's another moment. This is how supporters of the Trump regime are trying to, spin this shooting, this death. In the meantime, Nana Susie, obviously, tonally, it's very difficult in a conversation like this to suddenly peel off and sing happy birthday, but absolutely. Nana Susie, wishing you a very happy 59th birthday. I hope you have a lovely day. Nana Susie, I'm sure everyone in the room would love to wish you a happy birthday. I'm just going to play you this clip.
What happens when you radicalize a base of people about this?
It does strike me, Scott, that we actually don't know that she was doing any of the things that you suggested. We don't know anything about what she was doing. I mean, do you know as a fact?
DHS has said out loud today that she had been tracking around ICE agents all day long. That is part of the report.
She's following ICE agents. I think that I've read everything there is to read about this woman so far. And we have very little information about what exactly she was doing. She lives in that neighborhood, it seems. But we don't know that she was a part of a convoy. We don't know that she was trying to do anything particularly with ICE agents. We know her wife was outside of the vehicle recording. But again, we were talking about jumping to conclusions.
You think they may have just accidentally wandered in there?
No, she lives there. That's
so your position is that
she lives in that neighborhood.
You say the federal government is lying about them following ICE agents around?
All I'm saying is that we don't know.
Isn't it amazing how you can't even entertain the thought that a federal agent would lie? Isn't it weird? Don't you find there's a perverted kind of morality baked into all of this, from what J.D. Vance says to what that Muppet says, which is we have to trust that if somehow a federal agent is totally immune from the prospect of or potentiality of lying, they're a sort of, what are they? Are they baptized in the tears of Christ, federal agents? Are they hewn from a rock that Moses dropped on his way down from the mount? What are we trying to pretend here? Every conceivable Hollywood film, series, drama has corrupt FBI agents corrupting things. I mean, it's a fucking joke that we're somehow expected, or Americans are expected to hold federal agents in high esteem. I mean, in this country, you have more police authorities or groups investigating each other than investigating crimes. Just because you are the authority and just because you're a federal agent, of course you're not trustworthy. And in fact, I would argue more often than not, the fine line between criminality and being a police officer and involved in legalities like this is incredibly fine. It's a joke. It's a total joke. I've got a number of other clips that I really want to pull in. Let me just get rid of that. I've cleared most of the ones on my panel here. Let me play you this one, actually. This is a senator. I don't know her. But again, the strength of response. And she says something, this senator, about the shooting. She talks about when can politics not keep defining everything? Where's the heart gone? Where's the warmth gone? And this is the weapon in resistance that the Trump regime, the Farage regime, the system seems to lack. And I would argue Starmer and the Labour Party have demonstrated that the Labour Party totally lacks this too. And it's a very simple thing. It's neither political, it's neither technical, it's neither sophisticated nor complicated. It's called natural human warmth. It's something that seems to be devoid from all those that are encroaching. Yeah, I'm looking at the time. Thank you. Encroaching on all of our civil liberties is an inability to access any human warmth. Thanks, Northern Soul. My analogies drive Nadia nuts. I quite like them myself. But listen to this.
Well, I wish I knew. I mean, I wish they would just leave us the fuck alone. I mean, seriously. What is when do things stop being about politics and start being about actual human decency?
Wow.
And so, I mean, I'm sure we can all hypothesize on what all of their political reasons are. But meanwhile, a woman died being shot in her car. And everything that they're doing is making it worse and not better.
Human decency. When can it stop being about politics and about human decency? And really what I mean by human warmth, thank you, Charlene Evans, absolutely. Within human warmth is empathy. Empathy is a warm, positive glow. Empathy is care and concern and a desire to understand. It's empathy and warmth isn't about recognizing there are limits to generosity, to charity, that one can't just keep stretching the envelope forever. But warmth can be fed into every issue around migration. Warmth can be fed into inequality. Warmth can be fed into disability allowance. Warmth can be fed into everything. And the thing that time and again, the reason I am forever and a day constantly shocked when Starmer, Lammy, Yvette Cooper, these absolute fucking puppets stand up and talk, is that they have gotten zero comprehension of the importance and the need of that vital piece of fucking DNA, which is human warmth. Do you remember during COVID, during the crisis, what was it we kept reaching back to? There appeared to be, even in those daily press briefings, a total lack of warmth. She's asking for just human decency there. And talking of human decency, let me now play you another moment with the astonishing cosplayer that is Kristi Noem, with the eyes. These eyes are petrifying. They're like laser missiles.
Americans who have been listening to your comments, that this was an act of domestic terrorism, that the officer was...
Anytime you take something...
It is in direct contradiction to what they are seeing and watching in the multiple angles that have been released.
What I would...
24 hours.
This via...
What he's saying is, what the questioner's saying there, slightly off mic, is how can you keep saying what you're saying about this shooting when everyone has forensically examined the footage in slow motion, and without, in no stretch of the imagination, other than a man was moving round the front of the vehicle, he was not endangered. She was turning, she was enacting a three-point turn. She was the first person I've ever known doing a three-point turn considered a threat. So he's asking, how can you keep pushing back on that when we are seeing, to quote George Orwell, what we're seeing?
Was used to hit this officer. It was used as a weapon, and the officer feels as though his life was in jeopardy. It was used to perpetuate a violent act that this officer took action to protect himself and to protect his fellow law enforcement officers. So we'll let this continue to go forward and follow the same policies and procedures that every use of force situation does. But we've had almost over 100 times that these vehicles have been used to ram law enforcement officers and to do damage and to harm them. When you take an action and use a weapon to harm someone and to incite violence against them and try to cause them injury or death, then it needs to be labeled exactly what it was.
So complete denial, just totally circumnavigates the question, but we've seen she wasn't using the car as a vehicle of like a weapon, wasn't using the vehicle as a weapon at all. It's perverted. And this is the point. She knows, Trump knows, they all know that something like this was more likely to happen the more their ICE agents went out and just dragged people in. They've been waiting. They have been waiting. And that's where there's a difference between this event not having been literally targeted, as in they didn't target that woman, but they've been waiting for that moment where it tips over into something where they can forever and a day. I mean, if he'd been standing on the sidewalk and she was across the other side of the road, they'd have found some other reason to suggest they thought that as she put her hand in her pocket to get her car keys, she was going to pull a gun out. There's always an argument to defend the federal agent, you know, discharging their bullets, isn't there? There's always, because if you're going to use the line, a little bit like something we heard in Israel, they felt their life was threatened. Well, don't be such a fucking wanker and your life won't feel threatened in the first place. That's what I'd say to Netanyahu. Stop treating everyone around you in the way that you do, and maybe you won't have an existential crisis about your existence. Be a bit nicer, be a bit warmer, but they can't do it. And one of the other things, I'd go a little bit further on that. The reason these politicians in this Trump regime and in our country with the Farages and all that lot are becoming more and more extreme and more egregious in their desire to kind of, you know, just mine that hate-fueled sense of unfairness and blame migrants, The reason they do all of that is they are genuinely suspicious of anyone who has warmth or empathy. Why? because they are incapable of it. And they don't trust it. We know people, I'm sure you guys, we all know people in our lives who actually don't like people or think they don't like people or don't trust people's kindness, warmth, empathy, because they are incapable of feeling it themselves. Vast majority of trolls you get on all social media, they are incapable of warmth, incapable of it. So they need to pull down anyone in case it's possibly real anywhere else. Anyway, there's a lot of other quotes that I could use there. Let me just use this. I just want to play this one final one because it's Trump threatening or indicating that he could threaten Mexico, and then we're going to have to call it a day. But we will be back. This is obviously not going away this weekend. Trump v. Mexico. Here we go.
We are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very, very sad to watch and see what's happened to that country. But the cartels are running, and they're killing 250, 300,000 people in our country every single year. The drugs, it's horrible. It's devastated families. You know, you lose a child or a parent. I mean, parents are dying too with drugs.
Oh, right. Okay. So there's all sorts of categories of people who can die. So Mexico mentioned, he doesn't say we're going to hit Mexico, but he says we're going to hit cartels. We're going to hit cartels on land. Well, that probably means Venezuela, but could he be indicating Mexico? Could that be next? Does the United States of America simply want to have and own Canada and Mexico and all of North America? I think he wants all of it, and Greenland. That's his sphere of influence. Anyway, hi, Tori. Lots of love, sweetie. Drop us a line. Have a great day, guys. Nadia Unfiltered is landing later. Go and check out our home time vlog. It was fun. Again, a sort of harking back to the later parts of last year. Keep your comments coming in. Apologies, YouTube has a known issue with the processing of lives. And what's frustrating about that for you guys, of course, is the live chat goes when we have to re-upload this. But it's a problem that YouTube are aware of. They're across it. It's on their kind of mastheader. They're all content creators are going through this. So hopefully this will probably land. This will probably be up for about another 5-10 minutes. And then it will probably have to come back down, and then it will be re-uploaded. And what you lose with that, unfortunately, is the live chat. Now, if you've said anything here, anything that we've talked about that I haven't plopped on the screen, please feel free to go back under that and put your comments there, because we love to read what you've got to say. We love to hear the variety of opinions. We love to, get a real sense of what you're feeling and what you think. But as I say, this story isn't going away. It's only going to get more complex and more unempathetic and unwarm. So without further ado, have a lovely rest of the Friday, guys, and we will see you later. And of course, it's a normal weekend of curly cooks and all sorts of things happening this weekend. So see you and on.